Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Riverfront. We're back, Nate.
Oh man, welcomed by the sweet sounds of freak bass.
It's just amazing. So, this is an episode that you know you might not have been expecting.
Ooh.
Well, we expected it because we're doing it, but we're going to recap the opening series of the season, and it was a very fun, in many ways, opening series. And I guess the way I'll start this is, Nate. To me, there's nothing to be, well, maybe there's something to be disappointed about, but almost nothing to be disappointed about. You go into Atlanta on the road against the defending champs, and you split a 4-game set. I mean, what is there to be disappointed in?
I think any reasonable, rational Reds fan, if told going into this series that the Reds would leave 2-2, knowing which four starters we had lined up, everybody would be super pumped about it. I certainly am. Like there's no negativity on this side of the aisle.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So let's dive into the games, and there's some things we want to talk about. And obviously, the biggest thing that happened, we'll talk about it because that was Game 4. But Game 1, opening day. And the one thing I'll say about this series, I said this on Twitter. I always dreamed of the day when the Reds would have an opening series in which there was a ring ceremony before one of the games, and for some reason it wasn't quite as exciting as I hoped it would be. But because it was at Atlanta, the Reds open, of course, because of the lockout, the Reds open on the road. And Game 1, Tyler Mahle on the mound. And let me just say, Tyler Mahle, he's good. I think that's the first thing I'll say. The Reds win this game 6-3. They took a 3-0 lead after 3 innings, and then Tyler Mahle basically locked it down for the first 5. Tyler Mahle goes 5 innings, as I said, only gave up 3 hits, 1 run. It was not earned, thanks to an error at third base by Brandon Drury. 7 strikeouts for Tyler Mahle. Brandon Drury, however, hits the first Reds home run of the season, and as we all expected, it would be Brendan Drury. But a 6-3 victory. We'll dive into it just a little bit more in a moment. But if there's no better way to start the season than taking a win over the defending champs on their home field. Well, better way would have been if it were at home. But it was a fun first game, wasn't it?
That was awesome. Jonathan India, Kyle Farmer, they had the bats alive, which was great. Mahle was not scared of that Braves lineup, which we kind of learned throughout the next 3 days. The heart of that lineup is tough. Matt Olson might be the best ball player who ever lived. I think that the bullpen was super encouraging. Dari Moreta had a rough start there, but he really settled in and pitched well to close it out, and hell of a way to start the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic way to start the season. India, 2 for 5 that day. The Drury home run was the only extra base hit, but he went 2 for 4. But the other offensive note, and we probably need to go ahead and talk about it right here off the start, Kyle Farmer, 2 for 4 on opening day, scored a run, drove another one in. And, again, we're not going to draw too many huge conclusions. Just like we don't draw conclusions about spring training. We're not going to draw any grand conclusions about the opening series, but after 4 games, Kyle Farmer, he's hitting 357, 5 hits in 14 at bats and good defense as well. So
you speak for yourself. This is officially a Kyle Farmer fan pod for the rest of the season.
I think it might have to be. It might have to be.
Again, we root for these guys, and we want Kyle to have an awesome season. And if he does, we'll be the loudest supporters. So got to give it when it's good and take it when it's bad.
That's right. Yeah, credit where credit's due there. So the other thing that we probably we're going to be discussing throughout all 4 of these games, but something that we saw for the first time on opening day. Again, we're not going to draw any grand conclusions, but the bullpen, pretty good. I mean, Mahle, of course, pitched the first 5 and takes off, and Luis Cessa comes in and, walked a couple, but still a scoreless inning. Justin Wilson came in, struck out 2 of his 3 hitters. You did have Moreta, as you noted, who struggled in his first outing, and he bounced back later in the series. But then Tony Santillan, the presumptive closer of this team, comes in and just lights out, locks it down in the 9th. And that's something that we'll talk about. But that was a sign of things to come, I guess. This bullpen, and we dream about what the bullpen if they'd have pitched that well last season, the Reds probably are in the playoffs. So good opening game.
Yep.
Now game 2 was not as good, but then it showed a little something. I don't know how much to. These are professionals. So you talk about they didn't quit. They got a lot of fight in them. They didn't quit. Well, of course they didn't quit. They're getting paid a lot to do that. I don't know. Last year's team seemed like they had a lot of that fight. This year's team early returns are they're gonna fight. I don't know if that's just us making something up, but what happened in that second game was the Reds got down 7-0 after 3, thanks to really a pretty horrific performance by Reber San Martin, Cincinnati starting pitcher, and so they're down 7-0 after 3. They lose 7-6. They pick up a run in the 5th, 2 in the 6th, and then 3 in the 9th off the new Atlanta closer, Kenley Jansen. And so I don't know. Is there anything to that? Them being fighters. It happened the next day as well. They lost, but they they got it close in the last inning.
We kind of talked in our lead up podcast to opening day about how if this team is going to be competitive, they're going to need to be a little bit funky. And I think this feistiness might be something that we get to enjoy rooting for all season long. Yeah, they might not have the best lineup, top to bottom, but they got a lot of guys who can put the ball in play, aggressive on the base pass, which we'll see come into play in Game 4 with Senzel. But you can't read too much, but they passed the eye test. This can be a really, really likable team.
In a lot of ways, absolutely. And they lost. That's not ideal, right? But to keep fighting, I don't know. Again, we're looking for things to be excited about. What happened in that game? Not a lot of offense. Obviously, the Reds only had 6 hits total. Tyler Stevenson 2 for 4. Let's see. Joey Votto had a hit and a walk. Jake Fraley 2 for 3.
Tyler Stevenson got on base a couple times.
And
Senzel's defense, that's something that we can bring up. He's been making some plays out there in center field.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I guess this is the time to talk about the defense. Jake Fraley did make an error in the outfield. So that was not ideal. But another guy we're going to talk about in a moment had looked, and Drury made the error at third base. And then another guy did not get an error somehow out of his games at third base, but has looked horrific. But that outfield defense, the next games where we had a couple guys get thrown out at the plate, but Nick Senzel, basically in every game, made at least one, and in one game made 2, just highlight reel, Gold Glove type plays in center field, just outrageous. Now, was Senzel great at the plate in this opening series? No, but although he did have a key at bat on Sunday, but what are we seeing from Nick Senzel, and how exciting is that?
He looks healthy. There's no hesitation in his movements. He's playing the early on Gold Glove caliber center field. I think that might be something that's in his head a little bit. He's out there making plays. We're cool people was injury prone. This guy was healthy for his entire life pretty much until the last couple of years. So if we get that bounce back healthy season from him, it's a game changer for this lineup.
And again, he told a beat writer that he wanted to be a Gold Glover this season. That was his goal, to be a Gold Glover. And boy, early returns are fantastic. Early returns are absolutely fantastic. Let's go ahead and get into the other guy that I wanted to talk about, which is Mike Moustakas. Moustakas looked absolutely horrific. He played DH on the first day. He played third base the next 2 games and just looked like he could not get to a ball, looked like he could not he had no range whatsoever. It was just an embarrassing display defensively, and he didn't get an error, and just no way to sugarcoat it. And on top of that, he didn't hit either. 10 at bats, 1 hit. no walks, basically 11 plate appearances. He got on base one time. It's just an ugly, ugly start for the season. And the fact of the matter is, I, again, don't want to draw too many grand conclusions, but this guy cannot play third base every day for the Reds, can he? Or maybe you disagree. Tell me, Nate.
No, you mentioned that he didn't really have any errors, but it's more about the plays that he didn't make. They don't go down as errors in the scores book, but any league average third baseman should be able to get a couple more outs on the board. We talked about the eye test. It's bad. It's real bad right now.
Yeah, a couple of his balls glanced off his glove, and he didn't get an error because of those. But any competent third baseman is going to make that. And I don't know. I guess what it comes down to for me is this: if he can't field, he has to DH. But if he can't hit, how are we gonna? How can he be a DH in 3 years? Parts of 3 years now, parts of 3 seasons in Cincinnati. He's played 109 games. He's hit 214 with a 297 on base percentage during that time. I mean, that's just. Is he going to continue to be this bad this season? I mean, he's not going to keep hitting 100 presumably, but look, we're now getting into a sample size that's a little bit large in his time in Cincinnati, and he has been he's never been good, and he's 33 years old right now. What do we? Again, we don't want to be Debbie Downers here because there's a lot to be excited about. This is the one thing that I wanted to touch on that was the disappointment really of the first series. But what can we expect from Moustakas the rest of the way?
I don't know. I would like to see some fire. I talked about the guys looking feisty. He is the exception to that. He, a couple of his, backwards Ks. He was, walking away, sort of looking up in the clouds. And I'm sure he's pressing. I know it's got to be tough on him. He's not, trying to play poorly. But I would like to see something, anything. And until there's a spark, I don't know how they keep running him out there.
Agreed, and they didn't. He did not play at all in the fourth game of the series on Sunday, the Reds' victory. I guess the only thing I'll say, I don't want to press too hard into this, and we want to move on from Moustakas, is someone said, there's always these jokes every spring. There's the columns written about, the such and such player's in the best shape of his life, ready for a great year. This is all I'll say, but no one wrote a column about Mike Moustakas saying he's in the best shape of his life, unless that shape was oval. So game three of the series, the Reds, again, they lose 2-1 in this one and only pick up 3 hits, but they did, a little comeback in the ninth inning after Kyle Wright just absolutely shut them down. In the ninth inning, you get, Tommy Pham walk, gets balked over. Joey Votto singles to score him for the Reds' only run, and then you have Aquino up with a chance to go deep. I guess if we wanted to be talk about something else that wasn't that great, Aquino would be that, but offensively. But the Reds again kept fighting. But this is the game where the Reds had that crazy outfield defense. What I talked about Senzel, but threw 2 guys out at home. I mean, just yes, please.
I mean, seeing Aquino go Hunter Greene style and throw one of the fastest balls on an outfield assist that we've ever seen. Loving the defense. You're going to have games like this, especially early on. That Braves rotation and bullpen are insane, so you don't have to feel too bad about it. Pham did get on base quite a bit that game, like that. From him, the defense looks good. We had that other the 3-way outfield assist. So these are things we didn't see too often last year, and I'm kind of here for it.
Yeah, Fraley to Kyle Farmer, gunning down Matt Olson at the plate, and then of course Aristides Aquino. What Nate was referring to, the Statcast tracked his throw from home to gun Olson at home plate at 101.6 miles per hour. Why is Aristides Aquino, if he's not going to hit, and again, he's not hit so far this year. He's got 1 hit and 7 plate appearances. If he's not going to hit, let's put him on the mound, right? In the bullpen. Agreed?
I mean, we should have tried that last year if we were going to, but.
Yeah, what a gun. What a gun. So the other thing that day that we really need to focus on, again, it's a loss, and the Reds dropped to 1-2, and you see a lot of the belly aching, which is understandable. Here we go again. The Reds are below 500, and, they're awful, which I get, right? This is not the best team, but encouraging signs once again from the bullpen. I mean, let's go back to game 2 to talk about the bullpen briefly because I didn't get into it there, but it was another encouraging day. Reiver Sanmartin. He's either going to be great, in which case we're going to rename the podcast the Reiver Front, or he's going to be awful as a starter, and he's going to have to become reliever Sanmartin. But he just was not good. 2 1/3, walked 5 guys, gave up 4 hits. And what's frustrating, I think, about that is that in the minors, Sanmartin's kind of stock in trade was they threw strikes. He didn't walk guys. So, so I expect, I don't know what we're going to get out of Sanmartin. I think it's the biggest question mark in the rotation, but he's going to be better than this year. He just kind of looked a little bit, nervous maybe. I don't know. Any thoughts on Reiver Sanmartin, Nate?
That's a big moment for the young fella. They were still doing some of their World Series festivities. I think we'll probably see him in the bullpen once the rotation's kind of set, and I think that might be where he's better suited. But he's wearing the right jersey, so I'm gonna keep rooting for him. But that was a tough one.
That's a good idea. Keep rooting for him. Jeff Hoffman,
Whew.
he came in after Reiver Sanmartin, and he was Hoffman-esque, I guess. You look at his final line, and it doesn't look awful. 2 2/3 innings, gave up 2 runs. It's not good. It's bad, but it's even worse than that because he allowed 3 of his inherited runners to score. Although he came in with, let's see, I think 2 runners were on. 2 runners in scoring position. So he allowed those to score, but yikes, just not good. He did settle down after that and did pitch better, but then after. And again, so the Reds are down 7-0. And in order for the Reds to even have a chance of coming back, you had to have the bullpen. And Daniel Duarte, inning of scoreless baseball, struck out 2. Alexis Diaz, perfect inning, struck out 2. And my guy Buck Farmer with a perfect, or not a perfect, he did give up a hit, but struck out 2 in the 8th inning. So they held the line to give the Reds offense a chance to come back. In Game 3, 2-1. Both runs given up by Vladimir Gutierrez, the starter, who did not look great in his 4 1/3 innings. Gave up 6 hits, just 2 earned runs, walked a couple. But then Hunter Strickland, inning and 2/3 of perfect baseball. Justin Wilson, not great in 2/3 of an inning. He did give up a hit, but he did not allow a run. Ryan Hendricks, a hit and a walk in a third of an inning, but did not give up a run. And then Dar Moreta comes back and pitches a scoreless 9th inning. So through 3 games, we're seeing something we didn't. I don't know. We saw 3 straight games last year, the entire season, with the bullpen performing like they did the first 3 games. And there's something that happened in Game 4 that I think is the most encouraging thing about the weekend series. But the bullpen has to be way up there, right?
Absolutely, and I don't want to say too much because I don't want to get ahead of what I think your point's going to be after Game 4. But the way that David Bell has used the bullpen so far has been extremely encouraging to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I could not agree more with that. Offensively in that game, again, not a lot to talk about. But then, so the Reds come back to Game 4 needing a win to split the series in Atlanta, and the big 5-run 3rd inning launches them to a 6-3 victory. Now, before we talk about the pitching, I think there was something we can talk about. I do want to talk about that 5-run 3rd inning because if the Reds they didn't score that 5 runs is what won the game ultimately. It was a 6-3 game. If they don't get those 5 runs, then we have a problem. Okay, and so what happens is in that inning, Jonathan India led off. This is the 3rd inning. Jonathan India led off with a walk. Tyler Naquin doubled him home, and then there's Tommy Pham grounded out. Joey Votto walks. So you have runners on 1st and 3rd for Tyler Stevenson. He walks. Bases loaded, 2 outs. No, bases loaded, 1 out. I'm sorry. Bases loaded, 1 out. Nick Senzel's up. Nick Senzel grounds a tailor-made double play ball to shortstop. Looks like they may have turned the double play there. If they turn the double play, inning ended. It's just 1 run out of that inning. Well, Nick Senzel busts it down the line, beats it out, and it's just like a bang play. And the announcers were saying, and I agree with it just from looking at the replay, it's as close to a tie as you're ever going to get. But they called him safe on the field, and they couldn't find enough to overturn that. When he's safe, that keeps the inning alive with 2 outs. And first of all, that allowed Naquin to score, so that's your 2nd run of the inning. Colin Moran singles, scores Votto. Kyle Farmer singles, scores Senzel and Moran. So you get a 5-run inning. A lot different game at 5-0 after the top of the third than a 1-run lead. And ultimately, that may have been the moment that won the game for the Reds. So again, Senzel with his glove was incredible all week. With the bat, not great, but at least the hustle there allowed the Reds to win. That was a huge moment, wasn't it?
It was awesome to see. Last year, whenever they were going through whatever was going on between the Reds and Nick Senzel, a lot of people kind of got down on his effort and his sort of listless, appearance, and that has been the farthest thing from the case so far this year. He looks engaged and he is busting his butt. It's great to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love it. And I guess I'll ask you this question, Nate, because we talked about third base earlier. And what do the Reds do? Because they don't have a third baseman right now, frankly. And, you see Senzel playing center field. And he was drafted as third base, played third base most of his minor league career. You see him busting his tail out there, but he's, dove for catches 3 or 4 times. He hit the wall at least once, making a spectacular catch. Golly, and you kind of, because of his injury history, you kind of cringe a little bit every time. Does it make any sense at all to have him at third base instead of just for injury reasons, bring him back to third base since the Reds don't have a third baseman? Of course, they don't have a center fielder either. Let's be clear, but other than Senzel, so I don't know. That's an option that I don't know if they're considering, but I think they probably should consider just for the long-term health of Nick Senzel. Any thoughts about that?
In a perfect world, Jose Barrero comes back and gives a little more flexibility right there. Maybe move Senzel over there. I don't know where Farmer can play. He's looked good at shorts. Maybe we just keep him there. Put Barrero in the outfield. I don't know. At this point, I say just let him stick with one position, whatever it's going to be. Bouncing him back and forth, I think, is where it gets a little dodgy, in my opinion. But there's certainly some merit to the thought of getting him out of there because he scared me too many times already. I'm too old for this.
Exactly. But yeah. And probably the answer is to keep him in center field because he is legitimately an upper tier defensive center fielder already. I mean, incredible speed, gets good jumps, but I don't know, it worries me. And if you wanted to get him into third base, I guess probably what you do is you keep Kyle Farmer at short, and I can't believe I'm even suggesting that might even be a possibility. Senzel at third, and then Barrero in center. I think really probably your best bet long term. Well, maybe not long term, but I think the team is better defensively and offensively if you have Barrero at shortstop, slide Kyle Farmer over to third, and keep Senzel in center. That's probably really your best option if we're taking kind of the injury concerns out of the way, right?
Yeah, I think so. We're obviously looking at things glass half full this early in the season. So hopefully we get Barrero back soon. But that's your best perfect world kind of lineup. But we've talked a lot about the defense today. I think there's something else in this game that we could probably touch on.
Do it.
Hunter Greene, man, how exciting was that? His final line, it doesn't look incredible when he gives up that third run. So, man, a couple of those, solo home runs. That's what you want to do when you throw that hard. People are going to put the bat on the ball. No shame in Matt Olson getting hits off of you. He throws one of the most effortless 100-mile-an-hour balls I've ever seen. He was composed throughout, pregame, postgame, during the game. Watching him get fired up when Joey made that snag to his right at first base was so much fun. I think it was one of those. He's a rookie. He's barely pitched professionally. It was about as positive of a first major league start as we could have hoped for, and I hope that everybody got a chance to watch it. We're going to have a lot of fun with this kid for a long time.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it was just again, you're right. If you look at his final pitching line, you're going to think, well, it's not that great. He's got an ERA of 5.4. Why are we excited? But 5 innings pitched, 4 hits, 3 runs, all earned. He did walk a couple, but he struck out 7. But that does not tell the story. He's like 16 years old. I've never seen a kid more composed on the mound. He did give up a couple of long balls, and that's been a little bit of a bugaboo of his in the minor leagues, and he'll have to iron that out. But the first 3 innings of his professional career were some of the most amazing. Is just incredible. I don't know how to describe it. I fail for words here. He struck out 6 in the first 3 innings. You're right, completely effortless gas, triple digits, and was throwing triple digits in his last inning, the 5th inning. Just looked like the moment was not too much for him. He just was poised. He was confident, and every one of his pitches looked fantastic. Again, are there things to work on? Sure, he's a rookie, but you can tell this is. And then in his post game interview, he acted like a 10-year veteran. You can tell it's a kid that he's been in the spotlight. He was on Sports Illustrated to cover it in high school, so you can tell it's a guy that's not afraid. He wasn't afraid of the moment, and he wasn't as intimidated by your major league debut as most people would be, facing a really good lineup from the defending World Series champions. And just I don't know. We talked on our Oscars episode, I think, about who we thought would be the best rookie on this team, and I think all of us said Nick Lodolo because he's a little older, maybe more polished. After watching Hunter Greene, if Nick Lodolo can be better than Hunter Greene this year, then the Reds are going to be in really good shape because Hunter Greene is absolutely the real deal. The only way Hunter Greene doesn't become the star that we're expecting, I would say, I hesitate to even say this, but is if he gets injured. That's the only way. Again, I sound like I'm going over the top. If you didn't get to see it, I'm not going over the top. I think I'm understating things, if anything. Nate?
No, this is it's the beginning of the season. It's time for extreme and completely ridiculous optimism. You can get excited thinking about a starting rotation with Castillo, Green, and Lodolo of decent arms. Not that we have a ton. That is the issue. But those guys at the top 4 for rotation, holy man.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, for the 4th consecutive game, the bullpen. Luis Sessa, inning and 2/3, only gave up a hit. Tony Santillan comes in the 7th inning and has a 4-out performance. Did give up a hit, but otherwise no runs. And then Art Warren comes on for the save. And again, to give David Bell credit in that game yesterday, he did what we've been begging managers to do for years. Tony Santillan, as I said, the presumptive closer for this team. Well, David Bell gets him in the 7th when the Braves' top of the order and the heart of their order are coming up, and has him face them. In the past, managers would have brought in Art Warren or whoever to save Santillan for the 9th. Well, as it was, Art Warren got to face the bottom of the order because Tony Santillan came in during that high leverage situation, shut down the middle of the order. And so, again, from the Department of Credit where credit's due, good job, David Bell, on the way you managed the bullpen. And you mentioned it earlier, but that's a really good example of it, right?
Yeah, it's incredibly encouraging. And the way he didn't wait until Matt Olson got up to bat to bring in Santillan. He got him in there a batter early. So if we had get that 3rd out with Rosario, who the Braves are not going to have at the top of the lineup all season once Acuna comes back, go ahead and shut it down right there. And face Olson, face Riley, face Ozuna with nobody on base. Limited people on base. I thought it was great usage. We have harped plenty over the years about Reds managers doing the opposite of this. If this is something he's going to stick with all year, then the bullpen is going to be in a lot better shape than we have seen in the recent times.
Absolutely, without question. So very exciting. Just briefly, let's run through some just the performances for 4 days. Again, don't draw any grand conclusions, but Kyle Farmer, Tyler Stevenson, both outstanding. Stevenson, 300, 385 average. Stevenson did hit a long ball in that Sunday victory. He and Brandon Drury, the only home runs for the Reds. Kyle Farmer, fantastic. Joey Votto, not fantastic, but I saw nothing out of Votto that makes me concerned. I mean, he's fine. Just, he only had 3 hits in 14 at bats, but he did walk a couple times, and he's going to be fine. The only kind of everyday player that I think probably, other than Moustakas, obviously, that we probably ought to mention a little bit is Tommy Pham really struggled. 17 plate appearances, no hits. But if you have a 0 batting average, but your on base is 235 because you drew 4 walks, I guess that's not a bad thing. If your on base is going to say 235 points higher than your batting average, then we'll be okay with Pham hitting 200 this year. But are we worried about Tommy Pham yet? I'm not. I mean, I like the guy. I wish we had Winker out there, but I like Tommy Pham. But it was kind of an ugly debut for the Reds, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm not worried yet. Obviously, you want to see more, but those 4 walks are incredibly encouraging. Just the guy making things happen at the top of the lineup. I'm also really encouraged with the way that Naquin's hit the ball in this first series. He looked like a competent major league bat out there. The only thing that I'm kind of disappointed in, and I hope we don't see too much of going forward, was Game 3. You look at it's the only game where the Reds' offense didn't really come alive. But Tyler Stevens is not going to start. I would really like to see him in that DH spot.
Yeah, that's a good point that I wanted to mention earlier that I neglected. Absolutely, it's a he did play. He came in, played the last 2 innings of the game, but with this offense, it has to have Tyler Stevenson. They just have to have him in there. And I know he's a catcher, and he caught 3 of the 4 games, and 2 innings of the fourth game. You're going to have to give him breaks. Is it too much to let him just sit on the bench all day and just get up 4 times to bat? Is that too much on his legs? I know you need to give him a break occasionally, and that's fine. But I don't see how you can't have him DHing. And he has not DH'd yet. Agreed. So, Tyler Naquin, a good start, 3 hits and 11 at bats, had a walk, had the double. On the pitching side, we've kind of gone over all of it. Hunter Greene and Tyler Mahle both impressed. Vladimir Gutierrez, lower ERA than Hunter Greene, but he was, I don't know, it was not a great performance. And then out of the bullpen, you had Sessa and Justin Wilson with 2 appearances, and Santillan with 2 appearances, and no runs allowed. So, not much else to say. A good opening series. We could have asked for more. We could have asked for 3 or 4 wins, but with this team as currently constructed, I'm not going to ask for any more. Are you?
Asking for any more is just getting selfish. I think it was an awesome first series. We'll take it every time. I think we're little series recaps as often as possible throughout the season. So get used to us getting a little more effective at that. And a lot of positives to take away. I'm not going to dwell on any of the negatives, and we'll see what happens after this quick 2-game set against Cleveland and the Zombie Indians.
That's right. The Reds come home to face a quick 2-game set beginning Tuesday against Cleveland, and Tyler Mahle will be pitching that first game. Maybe a little Nick Lodolo in the next game. We'll see what happens with the Reds, but I haven't seen who's projected to start that one yet. They've certainly not made a roster move to get Lodolo on the roster yet. But if the Reds can, come home and take care of business, good start here, because they have to head out to Los Angeles after that, and that's where things could start to get a little bit dicey. You got the Dodgers, you got the Padres. Then come back home for the Cardinals and Padres. So, we are going to try to do these recaps throughout the year. Hope you enjoyed it. Nate, any final thoughts? No final thoughts, Nate?
No. We got so enjoy the home opener, Cincinnati. It's going to be a fun little festive couple days for you guys, and then we'll be back for the Kyle Farmer Revenge Tour in Los Angeles.
Absolutely. All right, Nate, thank you. Thanks to all of you for listening. Go to YouTube, hit that subscribe button. We need you at YouTube subscribed. Smash the like button as well. We'll see you soon. So long, everyone.